This is the Voyage, built in 2006 at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana, as one of the craziest wooden roller coasters ever built. And today I'm reviewing it. Hello and welcome back to Coasters, where we talk about coasters. So first off, the Voyage was built by the Gravity Group and is located in the Thanksgiving section of Holiday World, right at the entrance of the land. Once you enter the queue, there is pretty much zero theming. The Voyage is themed to the pilgrim setting out for America, and the ride is that trip. If the line is long enough, you may wait in the switchbacks in the lower level. These are pretty much just concrete, but there is a cool interaction with the ride. You then go up some stairs and into the station, which has a couple pieces of ship decor. The Voyage has bins for you to put your stuff in, and then you sit in the PTC trains. These are simple box-style cars with a seatbelt and lap bar, as well as the divider in the middle. I've never had a problem with these trains, however I can understand why they can be a bit uncomfortable. However, the lap bars on these trains tend to lower as the ride goes on, so even if the ride-ups don't stable you, there is a chance the lap bars will do it themselves. Once boarded, you will then leave the station into some straight track. This is also where the track moves for trains going into maintenance. You then go into a dip that's also kind of an S-bend into the lift hill. This gets you to the top height of 159 feet. You then go into the 154-foot drop, which gives very strong flow ejector in the back. You then go into two massive camelback hills, both giving strong floater airtime, with the second one having a slight turn on the way up. After cresting the second hill, you then dive down into the first tunnel of the ride. As you go through the first half, the elevation rises and everything in the back section is on a hill. Yes, Indiana does have different elevations. Shocking, I know. And when you do the return trip, you go down the hill again. But before that, you rise up into another smaller hill, giving slight ejector. As well, it slightly turns right with little to no baking, giving good laterals. You then dive into another tunnel before rising up again into another camelback. This one is slower than the first two, but it still gives decent floater. You then dive into another tunnel before going into what's known as the Spaghetti Bowl. This is a mess of turns and small hills that gets you into the return trip. This starts in the tunnel, where you bank left and rise up a hill before twisting down to the right before going into a double down into a long turn to the left. You then level and go up into a small hill, giving good airtime. You then go into a 90-degree left turn, which is insane for a wooden coaster, before going into another 90-degree right turn. You then go into another bunny hill that also acts as an S-bend, giving great abrupt laterals. You then dip up, then down into the next tunnel, giving more good airtime. You then rise up into the brake run, and now you are halfway done. These brakes can hit a decent amount, but the ride picks up speed quickly after. You then dive down into another tunnel, going into a triple down. The first dip doesn't give much force at all, the second gives a quick pop-up floater, but the third one gives crazy sustained ejector, all of which happens in complete darkness. You then start the return trip to the station, which consists of many hills and twists, weaving around the former structure. This starts with rising out of the tunnel into a decent hill, before going into another hill that goes slightly to the right, giving slight lateral and good floater airtime. You then rise up, going left, crest over, getting decent air, twisting to the right, going the idiot's bit left, then rising up to the right. There you go into an aggressive bunny hop before going into a left turn. You then go into the final crazy 90-degree turn, going around the lift hill. You then go into another left turn, giving good laterals, that leads you into a twisted hill, going to the right and giving great ejector and laterals. You then dive down under the station, which is where the bottom part of the queue interacts with it. You then continue right and go into another twisted hill, giving great airtime once again, going to the left and diving down into the final tunnel underneath the entrance of the Thanksgiving section. Finally, you then go into another pop of airtime and then twist up to the right before going into the final breaks that are also the entrance of the Thanksgiving section, ending the 6,442-foot ride. In terms of roughness, I'd say that the Voyage is pretty standard for a wooden coaster. However, Holiday World does a great job retracking the Voyage and making sure it runs as smooth as possible, which is a challenge with how large and aggressive this ride is. But overall, this is a world-class wooden coaster. So that is my review on the Voyage at Holiday World.
Like and subscribe right now.